Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a very long overdue update on the Nissan 350Z. Before we get into this video, I'm going to leave a link in the top of the description to my new channel. If you want to go support that, please feel free. You don't have to, but if you want to, please go ahead and do it. It's so I can afford this thing because it's a wreck right now. It's a wreck right now. And so I'm going to be telling you guys everything that I plan to do just to fix this thing, not even like modify it really, within the next couple months. Hopefully before April, because by April I want to be driving it again on the road. Hopefully the snow will be cleared up by then. So actually only 1 month. We only have 1 month, but they're all pretty relatively small things, so it shouldn't take too long and it shouldn't be too hard. But it just needs to get done. That's all. That's the main thing. But I guess we'll start with the least serious. The rear's fitment. As you can tell, I mean, it's kind of lifted up by dollies right now, and so the front's obviously going to be a little bit lower. But on the back, the car has a lot of play. Even if I had the nice wheels on here, the car would still have a lot of play. So there's a lot of space in between. I don't know why I keep saying play. There's a huge gap between the rear tire and fender as compared to the front tire and fender, which is almost like slammed. Like you can barely fit your fingers under there. And when this thing is off the dollies, it was even lower. So it gets really low in the front. This side is perfect. That side, perfect. Rear, too high. So we're gonna have to lower it again. But the problem is these are max speeding rod coilovers, and we're pretty sure they're maxed out. So we don't know how we're gonna lower the back more to match up the front, and I don't wanna raise it again because it looks so much better when it's slammed. And so we gotta figure something out. Also, this car is very bouncy in the back. The dampening is off, the spring rate is off, and it makes it terrible trying to drift this thing or trying to go over potholes because the back is just so squishy. So we have to figure something out with that. But like I said, that shouldn't be too hard. Maybe we can just make adjustments to the spring rate. Maybe that'll help lower it some more. We don't know. But we're going to try and figure out something to do with the back fitment, because the back fitment is just terrible compared to the front. Front looks so nice and the back just looks so awful. The next thing is also not too serious. These are two actual mods that I still have to do to the car. And they're actually going to be pretty relatively simple, I hope. Fingers crossed. I say that all the time and then it comes around and bites me. But first off is this bumper. It's going to be impossible for me to show you because it's all pushed up against this. My uncle's garage has just like so many vehicles in it, and so it's kind of sitting in the corner. But the what was I saying? Yeah, the front bumper here on the 350Zs, where it mounts right here, there's a little like bracket that goes beneath the radiator support and the actual bumper itself. On that side, mine was missing. So when we mounted it, that side kind of sits a tiny bit lower than this side, and it's just one of those things that bugs me. And so I bought the other bumper bracket. We had to put that on, and it'll fix the bumper fitment. That side won't be dragging. It'll look a lot better, so that's good. And then the other thing, the other mod, is underglow. I have neon underglow. It was 60 bucks on Amazon, and I was like, everybody else is doing it right now. I want to do it. And so I bought it. And it's a mod that you can put on there, and if you don't like it, turn it off. That's it. You know what I mean? You don't have to do any extra work. Just turn it off. Sure, you can be called a racer. I don't really care. I don't really see how putting on underglow makes you a racer, but whatever. I'm not gonna go crazy with it with those lights all over the damn car like some people do. I just want underglow. I think it would look cool. I think like some white underglow on this car would just make it look so good. But yeah, those are the actual two mods that we're gonna have coming for this car within the near future. And I guess technically the Duckbill, which actually I guess we'll talk about the Duckbill next then. The Duckbill is a problem because, well, first off, the Duckbill fitment, I bought a really cheap one. It was 120 bucks on like some crap website, Car ID, I think it was. I bought a really cheap one, and the Duckbill's fitment is terrible. The top part and the bottom part, it's pretty good. It's not too bad. The sides, excuse me, the sides have like 2 fingers of a gap. It's going to be, excuse me again, it's going to be really difficult to get that on there, but I think we can do it. The other problem though is, well, first of all, I have to get all this extra sticky, nasty residue off. Obviously, that should be easy though. Just got to get an eraser wheel. You can honestly peel this off with yourself, but I'm just going to get a eraser wheel to make it easier. But the next problem is this. This is not bare metal, so it won't rust or anything like that. It is clear coat. It'll be okay, but the problem is I don't want to have some silver just sitting on my trunk line while the rest of it is black. That would look terrible. So we need to figure out like a wrap or paint this part of the trunk black so it can match the rest at least. The actual duckbill itself doesn't fit too well. I think we could probably work around that if we get enough men to just push on it as much as we can and have it just like be forced into place. I think we could work it, and hopefully that will be not that big of an issue. But yeah, need to get an eraser wheel for all this residue. Do something with this paint. I just don't want it to look terrible until I wrap the whole car. And that should be it for the whole duckbill thing. Two more things that I have to kind of, I guess, fix, but they don't have to get done. It's just things that irk me a little bit. Is these things here, these little spats that I put on there, I actually do like them a little bit. I don't mind them at all. I think they look pretty good in a way. They kind of grew on me a little bit, but this side doesn't sit right, as you can see. Once again, I bought these for cheap. They were literally like $60. I bought them for cheap, and this side doesn't sit where I'd want it to. So maybe we can try and figure something out to get that to, you know, push all the way down like that. But for right now, it's all pushed out, and I hate that. So hopefully I can figure something out with that. That should be pretty easy. And then the other thing is the bumper tuck. I actually did both these in the same day, and I couldn't tell which one it was that I didn't like. But after giving it some time, I think it's this one. I don't think I like this bumper tuck thing. I actually think I did like the black thing hanging down, because this muffler here doesn't look good from the back. It just looks like a big hunk of metal sitting right there, and it looks like, I don't know, like testicles or something. I don't like it. All right, I don't know why, but I don't like it. But that's super easy. Literally just take out the bolts that we drilled in. I think we drilled in 4. We take out those 4 bolts, and it'll drop back down and go back into its regular place. Plus, I kind of want to get a diffuser for the back anyway, so that'll cover all that up anyway. So there's really no point in even having that there in the time being, because I'm just going to take it out again when I put the diffuser on. So that's going to come off. That I want to try and fix. Those are the 2 other things that I want to fix. And then we have 2 more things. We're going to save the worst one for last, but we'll start with the next one. The reason why I'm even making this video is kind of for a checklist for myself, to be honest, because on April around the 14th, that's my birthday. And me and my friends are going down to New Jersey, and I want to take this car down there. And I want it to be able to drive 4 hours down there looking good and being where I want it to be. That's going to be a bit of an issue with all the problems that it has, obviously, right now. And I can't really do that. Also, I want the nice wheels to be back on the back. That's another thing. I have the tires. I just need to contact my guy to mount my new tires on my nice wheels again. Those will be back on. Don't worry. Those didn't go anywhere. I just haven't put them back on yet. But that should be fine. That should be literally a 30-minute thing. I just got to contact the guy. But yeah, I want to get all that stuff done so I can drive down there on April. And these 2 last things are the only 2 that are actually like holding me up, I guess you can say. But everything else, like I said, I still want it to be done by the time I get down there. And actually, this thing, once again, I mean, I guess I could drive down there with this being like that, but it just looks terrible. Like, I would not want to drive like that. But the 2 things that are actually holding me up, first one is the O2 sensor. This car has O2 sensor codes like you wouldn't believe. It just always has problems with O2 sensors, and partly because I'm so low to the ground, it scrapes on everything, and my roads aren't that great here, so every time, like, the reason why we're even fixing it right now is because it literally split it in half. It must have gotten caught on something and just completely ripped the wires off of the O2 sensor, and it was completely torn in half. And so, of course, I threw a code, and every time that this car has an O2 sensor code, it runs like doo-doo water. I hate it. It runs terribly. It feels like I'm just destroying my engine, and so I hate when that happens. The furnace turned on, but I hate when that happens, and so this car still has those O2 sensor codes. We replaced the O2 sensor, but the pins where the O2 sensor connects to the actual car itself were so bent and destroyed that I'm not sure if they're making connection yet. Me being the lazy person that I am, just haven't even cleared them yet. I haven't even looked yet because we've been doing so many other things. I just keep forgetting to. But once I clear them, we'll know if those pins are actually making connection. But what we did was we put it in, and then we wrapped it with electrical tape because it would click in like it was going to make connection, but we're not sure. It would fall back out because the clips were too weak, and so it would fall right back out. And so hopefully it's going to make connection. But either way, I really want to repin all those wires anyway because it's sketchy having that really bad connection. It can cause issues. A fire could even happen. Yeah, that's right, baby. A fire could happen, and I don't want this car to burn to the ground. But that's that issue. I just have to clear the codes, and we'll be able to see if that actually is holding up for right now. But like I said, I want to repin them anyway and get that all squared out so I don't have to worry about that. And hopefully we figured out the O2 sensor ripping apart problem. It just, they would literally, this car went through like 4 O2 sensors in like the 5 months that I drove it. But anyway, and the last thing, This is a big one. Is as you can see, the battery is disconnected. The reason why this battery is disconnected is, in case you guys don't know, when I got this car, it had a major issue where the car would just go into limp mode at all times. It wouldn't go over 2,000 RPMs, which is obviously makes it incapable to drive. And me and my dad were working on this car for 2 months. 2 months trying to figure out the issue with the wiring, and Nissan's wiring is just god-awful, so it took us a long time to figure it out. But once we finally figured it out, we realized that the problem was one of two, well, technically, I guess, two things. The first problem was that this car had, before, it had aftermarket taillights on it. It had these weird LED taillights that cost like $150, and the guy put them on, not realizing that early model 350Z's computers can't run LEDs unless you tune it to run LEDs, but it can't run LEDs in the taillights for some weird reason. And so because of the fact that he had put LEDs on there, and then the other reason, which we'll get into that soon, those two bunched together caused the car to be losing power. And the reason why is, I'm not that smart, okay? I'm not like the greatest mechanic in the world, but from what I can tell, the reason why is, if you have LED taillights on your 350Z, the ECU will send unnecessary power to those taillights because it thinks that it needs to charge something bigger, even though it's just LEDs, if that sounds right. And so it'll rob the engine of its power. And so every time I would turn on my lights and I would floor it, like literally flooring it on the highway, like in 6th gear, like trying to go as fast as I can, the car would go 90 miles an hour, and that was it. And that's very slow for a 350Z. So because of the taillights, it would short it of power. Then the other reason was this car had a MAF sensor issue. That's all it had. And the guys before me tried figuring out this issue and never touched the MAF sensor, and instead went straight to the ECU. And when they went to the ECU, they messed up every single freaking connector and pin to the ECU. And so now all those wires are making a really bad connection to my ECU in the 350Z. They are, I'm going to be honest, the people before me that owned this car, not the brightest people in the world, but you should have seen the freaking connector to that ECU when we took it off. It was terrible. They had taken like a hammer and a screwdriver to it to try and get it off because they couldn't figure it out. And when they did that, it bent all these pins in it, and it just, obviously now a bunch of the wires were making terrible connection. And me and my dad ended up finally figuring it out to get it to make the right connection and run right. But the other day, me being the idiot that I am, was in here working on the car with my friends, and I put these Nismo floor mats in, which looks sick, by the way. And as you can see, the ECU is just sitting over here on the ground. You probably can't see actually, but god dang it. Well, the ECU is sitting over there. The ECU is just sitting on my passenger floor, and the reason why is because it needs to be at the ECU needs to be at a certain position so that the pins aren't bending, so that it makes the connection that it needs. And I moved it. I grabbed the ECU, picked it up, and put the floor mat underneath it, and then put the ECU back. And when I moved it, it caused the pins to reposition, and now they're not making connection again. Obviously, all I have to do is go in there and touch the pins again to have them make connection, and it should be pretty easy. But I hate touching wiring without my dad's help, because my dad, trust me guys, like, he knows what he's doing, and I don't want to mess it up even worse than it already is. So I have to wait for him to be ready, and that kind of sucks. But I have other stuff to do anyway. But yeah, right now this car isn't even starting because of that issue, and it really sucks. So this car right now is literally down for the count until I can figure that part out. I have to get rid of the so to recap, this car is down for the count because of the ECU. It's not making the right connection, so the car won't even start right now. Second thing I need to do is I need to clear the codes of the O2 sensor so that it doesn't drive terribly. Third thing is I want to put this front bumper mount on so that the front bumper looks good on that side. Fourth thing actually, is the rear fitment. I need to figure out how to make this lower so that it matches up to the front and make it stop being so squishy in the back. And I also need to get my nice wheels and tires on. Another thing is I would need to get this figured out. A racer wheel to take all the residue off, wrap this or something, and then mount that duckbill, which is going to be a pain, onto that. Next, I want to get this figured out so that it's not that big old finger gap. Take that back off so that the bumper tuck isn't there, so I don't have to see my muffler because it looks kind of terrible. And I want to put the underglow back on. I just want to put the underglow on. I haven't done it yet, but I want to put the underglow on because I think it would look cool, and I paid for it, and I just gotta do it. But I'm pretty sure that's all the problems with this car right now and everything that we're working on. I promise all those problems may seem like big problems, but they're actually pretty small and they're not too major. It's just trying to get around to it while working a job and also making YouTube videos. It's hard to make content on the Z unless it's Sundays, because I also want to do it with my friends too. So, but I hope you guys are excited for the Z build still. It's on a little bit of a back pedal right now. Unfortunately, the car just problems after problems after problems. But who knows? We'll get it figured out and it'll be up and running before we know it. Don't worry, it'll happen. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to support my other channel, the link is going to be in the top of the description. Another link that's going to be in the description is www.smoothstance.com/shop, where you can buy any of your SmoothStance merchandise. Thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.